Hello and welcome to That's a Fact. I'm Neil Adamson.
And I'm Rick Papandrea.
And this is going to be a new podcast series that the two of us have been developing. It started off with kind of a silly idea. We saw the Disney bracket floating around social media and kind of said to ourselves, like, this is really screwed up.
It could be better for sure.
Yeah, nothing was seated properly. There were a bunch of movies that were just completely left off that really should have been on there. But I went through and I decided to seed everything properly using Rotten Tomatoes scores, break things up based on time period and Pixar. And we started doing a little a poll at the request of some people who commented on the bracket that I posted. And so then we started thinking, like, hey, it would be really cool to kind of look at these polls, analyze them after they finish, and do kind of like a post-game analysis, the same as you would do in a March Madness actual game. So
only this is interesting.
Yes, you guys will come to find out Rick is not a big sports fan, but we still love him regardless.
No, big sports fans are usually found at, sports stadiums to cool everybody down.
So we're gonna jump right into this. Not talk any more than we need to. First thing, first round, we started this with the Post-Millennial bracket, which basically covers a time period from the year 2000 to the present day. And it's any Disney animation film that came out during that time period. It has to be a feature-length film. It has to be released in theaters, so not direct-to-DVD releases. Those aren't included. And we came up with our list of 16, and a couple movies got bumped off because their ratings just weren't high enough.
It was the highest rated 16 of the movies that fit into those criteria.
Yes. And we use Rotten Tomatoes scores just because, we all have preferences to our Disney movies. We have the ones that we really, really love. And we thought that would be the most objective way to go about ranking these teams or these movies. So the first match on the bracket was the number 1 seed Zootopia versus Home on the Range, which was the 16 seed. Now, Rick has not seen any of the results to these polls. I've been watching them and staying updated with how they've been doing,
and I have not.
So all this is going to be new to him. I think right off the bat this was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I don't know the results, but I do. I think.
Yeah, so it's pretty obvious. Zootopia took it with 87% of the vote. 13 on Home on the Range got 13.
Which is even 13 is surprising to me.
It is. It's and one of the things that I said when I saw that is there's no way that those 13% have seen Zootopia. Or
they were just being, I don't know, belligerently ironic or something.
It could be that, because Zootopia clearly, I don't know if it necessarily deserves the number 1 seed in this bracket, but Home on the Range definitely deserves the number 16.
They're just huge fans of cell animation, and they think that computers have ruined animated features.
Apparently. So that's our first matchup. Our next one was really, really close. Match number 2, Wreck-It Ralph, which was the 8 seed, versus Lilo and Stitch at the 9 seed.
Okay, before you say, Wreck-It Ralph should have this. I don't know what the results are. You said it was close. Wreck-It Ralph should have this. It's nothing against Lilo and Stitch or Elvis Presley. Wreck-It Ralph is better.
Yeah, I knew going into this match that it was just like any other match that's an 8 versus a 9 seed. It was going to be close. And, you have fans that, grew up with Lilo and Stitch, and that is everything to them. But at the same time, Wreck-It Ralph, with the sequel coming out especially, I think people were reminded how good that movie really was. And it was fun, and I think for some people it was really tough to choose. But ultimately, the 8th seed Wreck-It Ralph did beat out Lilo and Stitch 51% to 49%.
Holy cow, that is crazy close.
Really, really close there. Now, this means that Wreck-It Ralph will be moving on along with Zootopia, and that will be the first match of the second round for the Post-Millennial bracket. That one I think is gonna be tough, but I gotta give the edge to Zootopia on that one.
Yeah, Zootopia winning certainly wouldn't surprise me, but I think I mean my vote goes to Wreck-It Ralph. As much as I enjoyed Zootopia, and I really did, I think that Wreck-It Ralph is better. It was more fresh. It's different, and Zootopia isn't those things. It's great, but it's not as fresh. It's not as different. Disney doing anthropomorphized animals isn't quite the newest thing on the block.
Well, and that's the thing, is that they know how to do that so well. And you look at other studios, other animation studios like DreamWorks, for example, that do that a lot, and it's clear that Disney's been, in my opinion, it's clear Disney's been doing it longer. They know how to.
I think by virtue of the first animated feature being a Disney film, they definitely have been doing it longer.
Yes, yes.
There's no argument there.
No, but I mean it's clear, because you look at a film like Zootopia, and to me, it is. It kind of captures, and we'll eventually get to this when we talk Pixar films, but it kind of captures that Pixar feeling of when Pixar came onto the scene. You started realizing, hey, a lot of these new animated films are speaking to adults just as much as they're speaking to kids. And I think that Zootopia does that just like any other Pixar film does. And, Wreck-It Ralph does it too, but I think to me, Wreck-It Ralph is just more a good fun time than something that's a little bit more deep and character driven.
Yeah, Zootopia certainly has a point of view and an agenda, which there's nothing wrong with that in a movie. Wreck-It Ralph does too, but to a much lesser extent. Zootopia, I feel like Zootopia bit off a little more than it could chew with its agenda. Wreck-It Ralph really knew what it was doing and kind of had a little bit to say, but really focused on making a fun movie with something to say and not saying something with a movie.
Yeah.
So I give it to Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah.
All right, so moving on, match number 3, the 5 seed Tangled versus the 12 seed Fantasia 2000. Now this is the remake of Fantasia, or reboot, or whatever you want to call it.
I think it's technically a sequel. Walt's original idea for Fantasia was something that would keep being made and evolving and changing, and they had never done that. It had been, 50, 60 years since the original, and this was the first time they did that, which is pretty cool, but I still think that it's not going to win.
Well, and it definitely captured the spirit of the original, so you got to give it to that, but to me, I think Tangled was a film that, for me, the first 2 acts were just kind of fun and seemed a little pointless. I was really interested in the character of Rapunzel and how they made her out to be this artist, but I also felt that the movie just was kind of like, it wasn't anything special. I think it was the 3rd act that really made me fall in love with that film.
Which is tough. The 3rd act is where most movies fall apart.
That's true. Yeah.
A lot of movies can start well, and then they don't stick the landing. I have to cough. Excuse me.
Well,
a lot of movies can start well, and they don't stick the landing. Tangled really sticks the landing, I thought.
It does, and it makes those first 2 acts that much more meaningful. because you've invested in the characters even though you didn't realize you were actually caring that much. And so, that payoff at the end really does speak to you as a viewer, I think. It spoke to me. So I of course, was rooting for Tangled. Thoughts on who is going to win this one?
I mean, I gotta give it to Tangled, especially because Fantasia 2000 obviously came out in 2000, so it's on the very edge of this bracket's eligibility. It's not a narrative, which makes it hard for some people to enjoy. That's another thing that's going to detract from it. Tangled is much more well-known, much more popular, much more recent. I mean, you go to the parks, you see Tangled stuff, you don't see Fantasia 2000 stuff. So I'm giving the edge to Tangled for sure.
Well, and Tangled took it. The number 5 seed took it 70% over 30%. That amount, at first glance, I would think, 30% for Fantasia 2000 seems a bit high. But when you think about it, those first 2/3 of Tangled might have soured the experience for some people. And Fantasia 2000 was a really exciting, event, really. So Tangled moves on, and they will be going against the winner of the next match, which was the number 4 seed Frozen versus the number 13 seed Treasure Planet. Now,
this is another one of those where I don't know who won, except that I definitely do.
But this is the interesting one. This is something that you're gonna find. Rick is very much a fan of some of the films that are lower seeds on these brackets.
One of my favorites didn't even make it onto the bracket, but we'll talk about that when we do that video.
The Atlantis one?
No, I was thinking of Robin Hood.
Okay,
but Atlantis also, yeah.
Yeah, so I know that Rick enjoyed Treasure Planet.
I'm going to be honest, have not seen Treasure Planet.
You know what I think it was? I think your brother was posting something and he tagged you in it. And
that is possible. My brother and I are basically the same person. People confuse us all the time, including, most concerningly, our mother. So, I have read Treasure Island and seen the Muppet Treasure Island, if that counts.
Well, having said that, I think it's safe to say that we both kind of were expecting Frozen to win this.
Definitely.
And I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. Frozen takes it 80% over 20%.
Yeah, it surprises me that it only got 80% of the vote.
Well, and I think part of that is a lot of people who grew up with Treasure Planet and really love that film, and they're not watching Disney films that are more recent, like Frozen, and so in their mind they're thinking, that stuff, I hear about it all the time, it's so annoying, I can't stand it, and this thing from my childhood really resonated with me, and so I think that this has got to be better than whatever that garbage is that's coming out.
And I'll be honest, I don't think Frozen is a perfect movie, far from it, and we can talk about that more later, but I think it deserved this win. It's fun, certainly, there's no argument there, but when it goes up against the winner of the next winner, I'm going to have some things to say about it, I'm sure. We'll get there, though.
We're going to be going... so Tangled is going to be going up against Frozen in the next round, which is going to be... That one's going to break some hearts, I think.
Mine, probably. It'll break mine. We'll be honest.
I'm a bigger fan of Tangled, but my guess would be Frozen's going to take it.
I'll be surprised if Tangled wins. I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I will be surprised if Tangled wins.
So
it's hard to compete with Josh Gad, I think is what it comes down to. Tangled doesn't have Josh Gad in it.
That's obviously what it is.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next match, we have the number 6 seed Big Hero 6 versus the number 11 seed Emperor's New Groove. This was another one where it's kind of
this movie. Is like a coin toss.
Yeah, I think it's another one of those situations where it's a movie that kids grew up with and know versus a newer film that maybe is a stronger, better film, but not as many people might have seen.
I don't know, I gotta give it to Big Hero 6 on this one. I prefer that movie. I think it is incredibly strong and funny, and Scott Adsit in it just absolutely steals it. And so if Big Hero 6, I'm gonna be disappointed if Emperor's New Groove takes it, because even as a kid, I didn't get Emperor's New Groove. I didn't get the hype.
You didn't
maybe
like
as
David
an adult,
Puddy? Come on, David Puddy is an Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, maybe I would appreciate it more as an adult, but I don't have the inclination to rewatch it. But Big Hero 6 I've watched several times as an adult and have enjoyed it every time. So I'm hoping Big Hero 6 takes this one. But
well,
toss a coin.
Your hopes are granted, because
Yes.
Big Hero 6 takes this one 63% to 37%.
Wow, that's still pretty close.
I thought it was going to be closer. I'm surprised by how much Big Hero 6 pulled ahead in this. When it started, I think they were much closer. I think Emperor's New Groove was actually leading.
Yeah. A cool thing I thought about Big Hero 6, and I'm not a huge part of this sort of the community that exists around like mental health and mental health awareness, but it did do a really good job of kind of talking about that. Baymax doesn't just try and heal Hero physically, but he sees, he's hurting not physically, and so he starts doing what he can to help that, which is really cool. And I know a lot of people really connected to that and like that, so I think that is another cool thing about Big Hero 6, not to mention like fun, cool technology and stuff. So that
I'm gonna be honest, I expected Big Hero 6 to be the better film, but I actually still have not seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Dude.
and it's on my list of things to do, but I have not gotten around to seeing it. But just hearing all the critical praise from it and just talking to different people who have seen it, I expected this one to be the better film, to overtake that nostalgia from Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize it's actually a Marvel comic book originally. Now, apparently, I've not read the comic book, but apparently it is nothing like the movie. But that title, Big Hero 6, and the basic bones of it do come from a Marvel title.
So moving on to our next match. This was the number 3 seed Winnie and the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh. This was the 2011 film, Winnie the Pooh, versus the number 14 seed Meet the Robinsons. To me, this was one where I think, Winnie the Pooh had very high critical praise, which is why it was a number 3 seed, but I don't think people really went out to see it.
I did not see it. I honestly completely forgot about it until we started doing this bracket.
Well, and then I think on the flip side to that, Meet the Robinsons was one of those films that fizzled really, really quickly. But I think people still, hold it near and dear to their hearts. Even though I really don't think that, I think it deserves to be a number 14 seed.
I enjoy it. Weird thing, I was actually at the world premiere for Meet the Robinsons. They premiered it on the Disney Cruise Line. I happened to be on the Disney Cruise Line the week that it came out, and so that was the world premiere of the movie, and I was there. It was a lot of fun. So I always hold that kind of in a special place, regardless of the quality of the movie.
Well, to me, what I think it is Winnie the Pooh, though, as a character. Regardless of the film, regardless of what he's in, that character is just so beloved to so many different people. And anytime you see him on screen interacting with his friends of Thousand Acre Wood, it's...
I'll be honest, the trailer... Yeah, you multiplied. That's a much bigger wood.
It's a much bigger wood, yeah.
It's inflation. When the trailer for the new live-action Winnie the Pooh movie, it's Christopher Robin, just came out. And, I teared up in that.
I did, too.
It's Winnie the Pooh, he's up there with, it's him, and it's Mickey Mouse, and it's Kermit the Frog. And they're the guys. They're the three godfathers of characters.
Yeah. I got teary-eyed during that. And most grown men that I know did. which
At
tells
least
you
the honest ones.
tells you something about that character.
Yeah.
Like that we don't know. Like we kind of get an idea of what that film's gonna be, but we don't really know what that movie's gonna be about. It's live action, which Winnie the Pooh has never been, and yet just the short trailer like that is able to just like
trailers never can do that. Like
yeah. So
yeah.
So I think going into this match, I think in my mind it was obvious who should win. And
I think Winnie the Pooh, not knowing, I think Winnie the Pooh has an edge just by virtue of it being called Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
It'd be like if there was a Kermit the Frog movie that came out against a mediocre animation movie. It doesn't matter how good the Kermit the Frog movie is if it's called Kermit the Frog.
Yes, I agree, and I was surprised to see how close this one was. But
what were the percentages?
Winnie the Pooh did take it with 59%, and Meet the Robinsons had 41%. So
that is pretty close.
Yeah, so Winnie the Pooh will be moving on to face Big Hero 6 in the next round.
That'll be a good matchup.
That one will be tough because that one is an issue to me. I think it's going to be okay. Now we're looking at two films that were critically acclaimed. And one that has a character that really resonates with people and that people love, and another that kind of broke boundaries from what I know and opened people's eyes to a deeper way of viewing animated comic, kind of how The Incredibles. You know.
I think it very much is sort of like a spiritual successor to The Incredibles in a lot of ways.
Which I think the people who saw Big Hero 6 and really are on that train are going to be rooting for that, and then you're going to have the people who didn't and who just kind of jump with Winnie the Pooh because it's Winnie the Pooh. So that one, I think that one will probably be pretty close. So coming down to our last two matches, our first is the number 7 seed Bolt against the number 10 seed Princess and the Frog.
To me, there's no contest. To me, again, Bolt was 10 and Princess and the Frog is 7?
Bolt was 7.
Reverse them,
Princess
okay.
and the Frog was 10.
Bolt is a great movie. I love Bolt. I haven't thought about it or watched it in ages, but I loved it. It's awesome. And Princess and the Frog, I was so excited for that movie. Cell animation, another princess movie, classic
It was supposed
Disney.
to be, hey, we're not giving up on that. We're still gonna make movies that are 2D, and they're gonna be just as good as the ones before.
And then it wasn't. And the last two 2D movies that Disney has made? Princess and the Frog and Home on the Range. So people think 2D is bad. 2D's not bad. Just the recent 2D movies have been.
It's interesting because this is another one. I saw Bolt when it was in theaters, but I have not seen Princess and the Frog. And this is one that my girlfriend has been telling me you should really see that movie because it is a lot better than people thought it would be.
Princess and the Frog is better?
So
I'll say this. Can I say a good thing about Princess and the Frog, and then it's also kind of a bad thing? So my favorite part of Princess and the Frog was the bad guy, Dr. Facilier. He's like this, Louisiana voodoo priest, and he's terrifying. And I thought it was really cool. But apparently, I was old enough to find him cool, and many of the children thought he was just absolutely terrifying.
Which can be good, but yes, it can also be bad. So.
Yeah, be bad, right. So I really liked the bad guy. I thought that he was an incredibly interesting, incredible, and scary bad guy. And if you've seen The Living Daylights, I think it's The Living Daylights, the Bond movie.
Timothy Dalton.
That is Timothy Dalton. What is the one? One of the Bond movies has a bad guy who's basically a voodoo priest. It's a Roger Moore one, I think. Live and Let Die, maybe? Live and Let Die, I think.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. But anyway, he looks. It's like they clearly were like, let's make him look like that. So I liked the bad guy, but the rest of the movie was super let down.
Just for me, just because I had seen Bolt and I really enjoyed it. I liked the music. I liked seeing John Travolta, or not really seeing John Travolta, but hearing John Travolta. I feel like so many people are done with him as an actor, but he does a good job in this, and I think Miley Cyrus, she was at this point, she was still the Disney Channel daughter.
This was right when Party in the USA came out,
I think it was right around that time. Yeah.
And not to reveal too much about Neil and myself, but when we were in college, it is possible that there was a Party in the USA choreographed dance.
We don't need to reveal anything about this, but
thankfully
let's just say
no
that
video
I have a spot in my heart for Miley Cyrus.
I think we both do.
So to me, even though I hadn't seen Princess and the Frog, I was gonna give it to Bolt. And it was the number 7 seed over the 10 seed, which that's pretty close. So it's not really like, if Princess and the Frog takes it, it's not really an upset.
Right.
But I was rooting for Bolt, and it turns out didn't get this one. Bolt got 47%. Princess and the Frog takes this one with
that's real close.
53%. Yeah, it was a close one. It was close.
Okay, my guess is that a lot of people have forgotten about Bolt, and that princess movies get a boost. I'm gonna guess that there's a princess, like a 10 to 20% boost for princesses.
I completely agree. I think that that is really what pushed this one over the edge. But I think going into the next round, it's gonna have a little bit of a hard time, because the winner of the next match
will face. So what is the next match? This is the final match.
The final match of this bracket is Moana, which was the number 2 seed, versus Dinosaur, which is number 15 seed. We're not talking about the good Dinosaur. This is Dinosaur, the film that came out in 2000. It was Disney Animation Studios, not Pixar, but Disney Animation Studios' first attempt at CG animation.
And it's actually not bad. The problem is no one remembers it. It's not great, but it's not...
I don't think it had characters that spoke to people.
Well, yeah.
I think, you look at a film like Toy Story, which preceded Dinosaur by quite a few years. And what was that?
90, 3 years?
Was it 95 or 90? Oh, it was 97?
It was between 95 and somewhere in the... Yeah, either the mid-90s or the late mid-90s.
Yeah, but either way, it preceded Dinosaur by a significant margin, and that film,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that was kind of one of the hard things, is that when you're on the heels of CG animated films like Toy Story that are just, blow people away, and you come out with something that's a little bit lackluster. You're comparing. You end up comparing Dinosaur to Toy Story, and it might not be fair, but that's what happens, and that's ultimately that's what killed this. I think it's pretty obvious. Moana took this one 90% to 10%, which
I just watched Moana recently, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't like my favorite or anything, but I thought it was solid and fun, and The Rock singing. I mean, who doesn't want to see that? Let's be honest.
Yeah. When Moana first came out, I didn't really.
That was my reaction.
I didn't know anything about it, and I thought it was like
Yeah.
But then I started hearing some really good things, and I knew Lin-Manuel Miranda was involved, and with how much Hamilton blew up, and just knowing what he can bring to any project that he is involved in, I went out and I bought the Blu-ray. And
this is something Neil does. Neil likes to buy Blu-rays sight unseen with no idea if he likes them or not.
I do, and I have a lot of terrible movies over my shoulder right now that I have.
I have a much smaller film collection. Still some terrible movies, don't get me wrong, but at least I know that I like them.
So I went out and I bought it, and I was blown away by this film. I loved it so much. To me, and you said it, The Rock, he's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment and entertainment now. I mean, he sells everything.
Yes, I think he, like, America's Sweetheart, I think, has always traditionally been women until now. Now it's The Rock. America's Sweetheart is The Rock.
I mean, like, it's almost like he can do no wrong, and when he does do
It's
something
adorable.
like Baywatch,
Yeah.
well, when he does do something like Baywatch, everyone's just like, oh, that's okay, don't worry about that. We won't ever talk about that again.
He has 3
Because there's-
movies coming out in 6 months. He had Jumanji, and then Rampage comes out in a week or something. And
Which Jumanji was-
What is the Sky movie?
Skyscraper.
Yeah.
Skyscraper. Which Jumanji blew me
Was
away.
so
Jumanji
good.
was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And I'm hearing good things about Rampage.
I want to see it. Like, it looks like if you
like
told me
it's a terrible movie, but it's fun, is what people are saying.
Yes. Which is
And that's what he brings
Yes.
to everything that he
you
does.
can't
Is he
not have fun while you're watching The Rock, because he's having
Yes.
so much fun that he forces you to have fun with him.
Well, you know what's so perfect about Moana is that when he is singing "You're Welcome" to her, and he goes on like, and he's doing his whole like thing, there's a moment in the song where she completely gets distracted by what's going on, and she just like starts smiling and like dancing along with what's going on. Like, and that's what he does. Like,
Yes.
they captured it perfectly. Like, that is what Dwayne Johnson
Yes.
does when he is on screen. So, and when his voice is on
Right,
screen,
it's not-
even.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and then having Jermaine Clement in there,
Yeah.
playing the David
always a
Bowie
favorite.
crab. Like,
To my mind, Jermaine Clement, that guy just can't get enough work. Anything he's in is enjoyable.
so good. And I know people like are creeped out by the crab, but like, to be like anything that he's in, you know, I love the original like seasons of Flight of the Conchords. And
Him and we were just talking about What We Do in the Shadows. He's hilarious in that.
Taika Waititi, yeah. So yeah, you put those two in a film, and then you throw Lin-Manuel Miranda in there, and it's like, how is this film not gonna be amazing? And it was. I love it so much. So, you know, going into the next round, it's going to be facing Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, it's going to
and
kill
I'm sorry, Princess and the Frog.
It's not even going to be like that. That's maybe the most definite of all the matchups that I think we've got.
Yeah, but I don't think there were too many. You know, looking at this whole bracket, this first round, I don't think there were too many surprises.
No, there was a couple of close calls, but nothing that really shocks me. Certainly.
Yeah, really, it was a matter of the higher seeds took it over the lower seeds, except for in the middle. And that's exactly what you expect from any bracket. So in this case, the votes coincided for the most part with the critics.
Yeah.
And I think now is when things are going to start getting interesting as we go into the second round, and then, you know, we get into
this is when
16.
when people are going to start crying. I'm people.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have some tougher matches going in next week. Like I said, we've got, starting off the first match, Zootopia versus Wreck-It Ralph. That one's going to be a heartbreaker.
I'm hoping Wreck-It Ralph has my vote there. I don't know.
Tangled versus Frozen. That one's going to be really hard for a lot of people, I think.
Again, Tangled will have my vote on that one, but it's going to be real close.
Big Hero 6 versus Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Again, we talked about that. And then the only one that I think, to me, is the obvious choice is Moana versus Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
So we got some good matchups going into this week. You know, voting will... Actually, by the time this video is up, voting will have begun. And you can vote for your favorite or whatever you think is the better Disney film on our Facebook group. Just search "That's a Fact" with an exclamation mark.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the.
Yeah, we'll put a link somewhere in this video, and definitely down in the description. Definitely down in the description, we'll have that information. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun week of voting.
Yeah.
And you know, we will we'll come out with another video going through the results of
Bracket number 2.
The contemporary bracket, which we got a lot of films in there. We got Oliver and Company, Winnie the Pooh. That's the 1977 one. This bracket covers the period of 1975 to 2000.
So it's like the Disney Renaissance. You've got Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and all the ones that we
Hercules,
grew up with.
Rescue, Little Mermaid, Fox and the Hound, Lion King, Tarzan, all of those. So, that one I think is going to be an interesting one to go over, but I think there are some obvious ones. I think that bracket is, again, a case where round 1 seems a little straightforward. Winnie the Pooh versus Oliver and Company, Hercules versus the Rescuers, Little Mermaid versus the Fox and the Hound, Lion King versus Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah, that one will that'll be obvious. That's an obvious one.
Tarzan versus Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Aladdin versus Pocahontas. Mulan versus The Great Mouse Detective, and the last one is Beauty and the Beast versus Black Cauldron.
And if you haven't seen these, try and watch them. They're great movies. So a lot of them are on Netflix for a while, although I think that Disney Netflix deal is ending.
There are a few on there. There's not too many. Hercules is on there, I know.
Great Mouse Detective was for a long time. So is Hunchback, but maybe they're not. I don't know. But find them, watch them. They're all great, and for a couple bucks you can rent them on whatever platform you prefer.
But yeah, by the time this video is out, the voting for that round, for that bracket, will be over. So you can't.
But voting for the next round will have started. So you can definitely jump onto that. So again, all these polls will be up on our Facebook group at That's a Fact! ! Just type it in the search bar on Facebook and you should be able to find us. Like I said, our videos will be available on our YouTube channel. We'll put links on Facebook and everything like that. Rick, do you have anything going forward for the next round or for this whole series that you have to add? Not that I can think of right now. I'm looking forward to getting into some of the older films. That's the stuff we grew up on, so that's the stuff I probably love the most. And then obviously I'm a Pixar. We got Pixar coming up too. That'll be great. I think that'll probably be the toughest bracket. Is going to be the Pixar bracket because
even round 1 of that is
Disney
tough.
As an overall company, they've got highs and lows. Pixar, I mean, they've got 1 or 2 okay movies, but most of them they just knock out of the park. So that's going to be. I think that's going to be a really interesting bracket.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of amazing because none of the Cars films made it in the top 16.
I don't want to know. Oh, in the top 16, none of.
Yeah, and none of the Cars films made it even into the Pixar bracket because there's so much other
good stuff.
And I'm not saying the Cars movies are terrific, but the first Cars isn't a bad movie.
Yeah, I mean it made Road Trips cool and Rascal Flatts cool again. So who doesn't like that?
So plenty of stuff to look forward to here on our channel and on our Facebook page.
So Neil's camera just filled up, which means I'm the captain now, and I can say whatever I want. But I'm gonna do the thing he asked me to do. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, share this video around so we can make more of these, and have a great night or day or whatever time you're watching this. And that's a fact.